Hey everybody, this is Soup here. I'm going to be making a little bit of an introductory video for my campaign. This is a Jujutsu Kaisen inspired TTRPG by the name of Unraveled. I've had a couple renditions over the years, but this one is going to be recorded. So, a little bit of an introduction, but the system is kind of a combination of many things. So you'll see remnants of D&D, 5e, maybe some Pathfinder, Cyberpunk Red. They share a lot of similarities, but it is a completely original system, so there are a lot of new things. This section is basically saying this is a made-to-order story. Essentially what that is it means that I don't make the story until my players have submitted their backstories and stuff like that. So it's going to be something that ties in with their characters, their archetypes, and what they want for the future. Player splitting. So because it depends on who hosts this, but I have 6 people. So I chose to split them between the schools. Obviously, if you have 3 or 4 people, you can have them at one school. I recommend splitting if there's more than 4, but you can run it however you wish. And feel free to take aspects of the system and do whatever you want with it. You can add new things, take out new things. It's completely fine. I don't mind at all. Don't credit me. This really, it really isn't a big deal. So, world changes. This is talking about the lore. There are a lot of changes in this world. Specifically, I chose to remove any sort of characters from Gay's version of JJK. I don't want to copy and paste anything really. Some things like the school, how society works, a lot of things have been changed because I just like it original. Again, do it however you wish. This part is something that I put in as a kind of jump starter for other DMs if they want to use the system, but you can obviously do whatever you want with it. And there are, for me, I made 3 major clans like in the original JJK, but they are different, of course. There's the Ando clan, the Saito clan, and the Otama clan. And these 3 clans are, right now, they are fine in the storyline. You'll get to see a little bit more as the story progresses, but each one has, their own clan leads, how they work, its own cultures. If you want to read more on this, go ahead and check that out. So now on to the next part, the character formats. We're not going to be going over this today, but this is something I recommend for DMs to kind of tinker with themselves. I made it my own. You can check it out again, and it'll be posted in the link, but do whatever you want with it. It's, again, this all is custom. You can choose to use certain things and not use certain things, or you can just rip it out and start anew. It's up to you. So I have 6 statistics that you can change, and by change, we'll get to that in a second, but it's strength, dex, perception, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. Again, these things they can be read more if you want, if you wish, but for now we'll just skip over that. Just know that they're pretty on the nose with mostly what they mean. You can guess with most of these what they do. So the other 2 stats we have, which are called lock stats, these are body and soul. And basically, a lock stat represents the things that you can't really improve. Like, for body, kind of like how Yuji is just naturally strong, right? Nobara can't train to get as strong as Yuji in terms of like durability and endurance. So I chose to make these locked stats, and you'll get these locked stats, based off what you choose for your role, and we'll get to that in a second. But first, calculating combat values. Combat values are basically your health, your curse energy, like it's like a mana, your evasion, which is mostly dexterity but can be improved in other ways, and DR, which is damage reduction. For those who played Cyberpunk Red, you'll catch on quick with what that is. For those who haven't, we'll get to that as well. For understanding scale, basically, this isn't super important. You can change this as you like, but this is for my players to kind of understand what it is to be average as a sorcerer in this world. And it kind of helps you realize, like, okay, this part of my kit maybe is below average, this is above average, and it kind of just helps flesh out the word a little bit, but again, not super necessary. This is just a little bit more about status points. Death saves do act differently than in D&D 5e. So it triggers whenever you reach 0, and whenever you reach 0, you have to roll a death save, which is a body roll. And basically, every single turn, you have to roll this death save. Instead of it being something of you roll it, you fail, the scale goes down, you have to roll it again, and this time it's just if you fail, you fail. JJK, it's very intense. So this system of Spirit Unraveled is very intense as well. It's easy to die. These are our character roles for our students. You have Student Strategist, which is, I would say, like the Megamies. Jack of all trades, I would say, is like a Nobara, for example. Student Fighter is like Yuji, of course, and Glass Cannon would be somebody like Mechamaru. All of these have different things you start out with. Fighting paths, technique grades, and skills and stats. So that's something you'll just get to look at. You can add more roles if you'd like. It's pretty easy to, but I like having those four. For cursed tools, now this is very important for this verse. I have them classified in 3 different classifications: heavy, medium, or light. And those are maybe you could argue maybe there's something like a extra heavy or something like that, but for now it's just these 3, and they all have their typical attributes applied to them. Heavy does bludgeoning damage, medium does either piercing or slashing, and light does usually slashing. Obviously some have to be 2-handed, 1-handed, or they can be either, but that's pretty understandable. Fighting paths are basically my interpretation of how important martial combat is. And by that I mean fighting paths are something that gives you a bit more in your kit than just your curse technique. I didn't really like the idea of just having a curse technique or heavenly restriction or anything like that, and that's your entire thing. So I made these fighting paths. If your player, for example, has a sword, fighting path could be like a kendo type sword style, and get them more things. If they just want to use their hands, there's like jujitsu, which is like the common one. There's other hand-to-hand combat styles. It all depends on what your players and you want. Make sure to meet in the middle. Inspiration. I don't really do inspiration, but I have it in here just in case people want to do it. I don't really do it. I like to do it as like a rewarding thing for players who I think just did really good. But not that I haven't seen that yet. I just kind of slips the mind, so I don't really use it that much. Curse techniques. This is a very hard thing to classify in specific mechanics. The way I have it is all of my players have curse techniques, and I think it's something that shouldn't be tied down to mechanics in terms of creation. But I think it's something that needs to, have some sort of outline for people to use. So that's what this is. It's sort of like a little bit of outline, a little bit of lore of what curse techniques are and what I want them to be in this universe. So yeah, I give that a read if you want to. But anybody coming from JJK should know, what a curse technique is, what an extension technique is, technique exhaustion. This can lead to brain trauma, damage, internal injuries and stuff like that. But all these things, read on them more if you need to, but I'm not going to be going over them in this video. Breaks are very important, very, very important. It's something I created, but I'm sure I'm not the first to do. It's basically, I guess you could say it's like a cutscene for the D&D Spirit Unraveled that we're playing out. It's a pre-made, prepared sort of activity that happens under a trigger. So, for example, I like to say Gojo's death is a trigger for him, and his break would be unlocking Hollow Purple. And in the cutscene would be like him floating in the air and fighting Toji or whatever, but that's a break. Another one could be Megumi's domain expansion, or his, summoning a Maharaga under triggers of like, oh, I'm about to die, I use this Hail Mary, and it like improves my strength at a cost. But yeah, that's what these breaks are. I really, really suggest using them. It's not to toot my own horn, but it's a pretty good idea, and a lot of players like them. They really, really like breaks, because you get to be the main character for a second. So check that out. Read on that more if you can. Binding Vows, not going to go over these because no one has needed to use them yet, and also it's very complicated, so not going to go over that. Technique usage, again, most of the techniques I have as Wisdom as default, but have it as whatever you want. It's a very case-by-case basis. Resting, short rest heals half, and a quarter of CE. Full rest heals both fully. Very simple stuff. Black Flash, you should know what a Black Flash is if you've watched any bit of JJK, but I'm, again, not going to go over this. It's just something that you'll have to read up more if you want to know about. Shikigami do exist, and they have usually their own character sheet. They require, charisma to tame and control. That is something that can be changed, but I think charisma is a good modifier for that. But so domain expansions, also something else I think we should skip over because I don't want this video being 10 minutes long. So we're just going to go over that, and that includes non-lethal, that includes lethal, open domain. So all those things are something that we haven't used yet, but if you want to know how I plan to use them or how I have prepared them in the world, then read on those. It's even if you just want to learn more about JJK, you can go ahead and read those. Cursed energy traits. So these are something that I only allow like 1, maybe 2 players to have. But it's basically like how Akari's curse technique or curse energy is spiky, or how Kashimo's is like electric, and they have their own special things. So that's basically what that is. And RCE is just regeneration. I say it scales with mostly intelligence, but with a little bit of wisdom I will allow. But yeah, some things they scale with modifiers, like Black Flashes or Reverse Curse Energy, or domain expansions. So make sure to look out for those modifiers if you want to go by this system. Action economy, so I have it as a 3 action point system. The MAP from Pathfinder I use. So if somebody doesn't know that, I'll go ahead and explain it. It's just your first strike, which is like any martial attack. 0, obviously no penalty. Second is -5. Third is -10, and so on and so forth. I like the AP system over the D&D action economy, just because it fits better with a more a more customizable experience. And I think having it just be one main action and a bonus action feels a little lackluster for a system like this, but that's just my opinion. Roll returns. Okay, so this is important. Roll returns is a general term for like what happens when you get a natural 1 or a natural 20, or whenever the defender gets a natural 1 or natural 20. And this also includes joint attacks, and joint attacks are essentially jumping, like JJK jumping. And that's about it. But yeah, natural 1, you get a normal injury if you're a defender, and if you're holding a weapon, the weapon goes flying off in like a random direction, or they get injured. I have it as flipping a coin, but you can do it as whatever. If a defender rolls a natural 20, they get to move 5 feet unprovoked. I just imagine this being as like you weave them so hard you break their ankles that you just get extra movement, even though it's not your turn. So when you roll natural 20, you get max damage, obviously. And then if you roll a natural 1, the defender gets to move 5 feet unprovoked again, because it's like you slipped up or something. And now we're going to go to the parameters, and this is important for setting up your character. So movement is 25 plus 5 times dex. Very obvious why that would be. Communication, I have it as like you can say things to other players so that it costing action points. I like role playing, so you can say whatever you want. I won't usually make it to where it costs an action point, but that does depend. Sometimes there are situations where you need to have that. But Anyways, default moves, yeah, this is just like throw, jump, swap weapons, attack, and dash, like what those can do. I have dash as being something that you can only do once per turn, because I think having spending all your action points to dash 3 times and quadruple your movement isn't something, or sorry, triple your movement isn't something that should be allowed. But you do you. If you want to allow that, y'all can allow that. So, anyways, curse energy in combat. It's something that I don't touch on a lot here, but I just like creativity. If you have an idea for something, I usually am like, oh yeah, let's do it. So if you want to use CE in a certain way or use your technique in a certain way that isn't written down, I'm fine with it, because I love adaptation. I love adapting to your situation and finding new ways of using your kit. It's so much fun. Anyways, attributes we'll mostly ignore, because this is just like something that you'll need to know if you're wanting to use the system. But the important ones are these 3: the piercing, slashing, and bludgeoning. Piercing is you ignore their DR, and I'll go ahead and explain DR here, because I think I explain it more down the system, but I'm just going to go ahead and explain it, because it's not going to make sense if I don't. So damage reduction, or I call it DR, is basically, you can think of it as a static number that acts like an armor against damage amounts. So if you roll an 8 damage and you have a 7 in DR, you get to block 7 damage of that 8 damage attack. But it doesn't just stay at 7. So if you tie or beat somebody's DR, their DR goes down by 1. And that basically makes it to where armor chips away more and more as you start to attack. So that's something to I think it's something that's pretty easily understood. But if you struggle with it, there is a section down here that explains it probably better than I am now. So just go ahead and read that. So piercing, basically you get to ignore somebody's DR or half of it. And it doesn't make it go away. It just, you ignore that. And, if you have, for example, another 8 damage attack and somebody has 4 DR, you get to ignore 2. So instead of doing a -4, you do a -2 DR attack. So very simple idea, but very effective. Slashing basically is applying bleeding, and bludgeoning means you get to stagger. And stagger is something that's also explained more down there, but it's basically just like -1 AP on your next turn. So it's basically like you got caught off guard and you got the breath knocked out of you or something, and it's not stackable on most circumstances, so you're not going to have an entire turn taken out, don't worry. But it is something that is pretty good, as limiting somebody's action points in a turn is very helpful. So yeah, that's essentially all we'll cover. I think these are things that you should read over some more if you're interested in learning the mechanics. Same thing with the injuries. Again, these take place whenever somebody, a defender specifically, rolls a natural 1 in defense. It's something that doesn't happen very frequently, but is possible. So yeah, read on that more if you care. Defense, again, DR is explained more down here. But yeah, the way defense goes is pretty well lined up here. So, somebody tries to hit you, you can choose to evade, which is rolling dexterity, mostly, plus maybe 1 or 2 based off of your curse technique or whatever. You can use a reaction, which comes from your like fighting styles. You can sometimes get reactions from those. Or brace. And brace is a new thing that just got added quite recently. Bracing is a type of defensive option where you choose to allow them to hit you. And by allowing them to hit you, you gain +2 DR. And that's not something that I would say is very broken, but it's basically like, the way I see it is, if somebody rolls a natural 20 and you're not going to beat that, bracing is a way of saying, okay, fine, you hit me, but let me get at least 2 more DR bumped up and knock off a little bit of damage on your attack. So it's something that's useful, but definitely not overpowered. So yeah, if you evaded, you pass without taking any damage. And if you fail, you go to the DR stage, which is, like we talked about before. Reaction, the same thing mostly. You get to do your reaction before they get to do their action. So you get to, if they're about to attack you, use your reaction first, and then they get to attack. So that's that. Barriers are something that I think, if you're a DM, you have to read over this. You have to look more about this because barriers are very important. Same thing with curtains. But we're not going to talk about that here because it's a lot of mumbo jumbo, and I am not having that. So that's all a bunch of nonsense. So each turn, I say canonically lasts 6 seconds. Each grid is 5 feet. That's outdated. Don't listen to that. That's a liar. It's lying to you. Challenge rolls. You just roll. That means mostly you roll against somebody. So you roll something and they roll something, and whoever gets the highest wins. Saving throws. You should know what that is. I'm not explaining that. You know what? Fuck you. I'm not explaining that. Skills. Things I made to give you a little edge in the fight. I should not have said edge. To give you an extra boost in the fight. Yeah. Basically, just minor buffs that you can start out with based on the role you picked. They all have pretty cool names, I think. So, yeah. Role progression. This is something that's new. I don't know anybody else that does this. But, oh, shit. My contact. Hold on. Ow. Fuck, my contact. Hold on, give me a second. Damn. Ah, fuck. Ow. That hurt. Okay, well, I'm back. All right. Let's continue. Sorry about that. I think, where were we? Oh, yeah, role progression. So role progression is basically whenever you reach +5 in a stat, you block a dice. That's the phrasing I use, which means whenever you get a +1 in that stat, you get a new dice, a new d20 in most terms. So if you have a 6 in strength, like I explained down here, you get a 1d20 +5 and a 1d20 +1 for a roll. I wanted to make it to where everybody's chances for one roll is about the same, but as your strength goes up, you are more likely to hit natural 20s. And the reason I did this is for the Black Flash system specifically, because you have to get a natural 20 to hit a Black Flash once you unlock the trait. I say this is great for balanced power scaling, but something I was going to touch on later, but I'll go ahead and talk about it here. If people have advice for how to run this system, or improvements or weaknesses, I love constructive criticism. I made this in with the help of my friends, and I think that if people watch this and if people have any ideas, I would love to hear them. So, tell me. I'll put the Discord in the link below. You can just DM me if you want, join the server, or just tell me how shit the system is. Whatever. I'll probably just kiss you or something. I mean, not kiss you. I mean, I'll probably just I don't know what I'll do. I'll just cry. But yeah. So if you have an idea, tell me about it. But anyways, we're gonna continue on. We're almost done. I know. Grading system. I think this is the last part. Yeah. The grading system is basically how it works in JJK. I didn't really change anything here. But I have my students as graded, so you can use grades as a lore thing of why are they so high up or why are they so low. You could use it as a friendly competition. I think all of these are great ideas. It's just a fun little trait to have to add to it. I have most of mine start around the F to C. I have one grade 2 or 2 grade 2s, I think. One semi-grade 2. 2 grade 3s and a grade 4. So it's pretty well spread out between the F, D, C, and C minus. But you can do whatever you want. Again, I recommend you try new things. It's what made me this system. So that's about it. I don't think there's really much else to talk about. Most time, I think in episode 1, which will come out soon, I go in more into depth about certain things while they happen, but I do often make mistakes. So if I If you see me making a mistake about something, or if you have any ideas on what to add to the system, I would really appreciate it. But yeah, so I'll go ahead and attach the Discord link down below, and that's where all of this information is. Join. You don't have to be active, but join. I'll post all my new videos there, any updates, and yeah, that's about it. So thanks for watching. I appreciate your attention, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.